Hello and welcome back. This is my presentation on how Killer Queen uses or challenges conventions and presents social groups and issues. Killer Queen is a horror drama that explores trauma, revenge, and social exclusion. The film follows Roxy, a woman haunted by a high school tragedy, as she reveals the truth to her therapist about what happened on that prom night. My group and I wanted to create a suspenseful film while also making a statement about social stereotypes, bullying, and the lasting effects of emotional trauma. Our goal was not only to thrill our audience, but also make them reflect on how actions have consequences. Slide 2, Social Issues and Why We Chose It. The main social issues in Killer Queen is mental health issues, social isolation, and revenge. Some of these topics that we put into this film, many people, especially teenagers and young adults, can relate to and struggle with. We chose these themes because they are a universal problem that can have lasting effects if not treated. Our film explores what happens when pain and resentment go unchecked, making the audience question if revenge is ever justified. By highlighting these issues, we hope to spark conventions about social exclusion and mental health, especially among young audiences. Slide 3. Research on codes and conventions in thriller films. To effectively portray these social issues, we studied how horror films use cinematic codes and conventions to create suspense and tension. Some key techniques we used. For symbolism, we used a blood-stained crown and slash to represent the guilt and revenge of Roxy after she kills Alex. Color psychology. Many dark tones were used in this film for danger. Red tones were used for violence, anger, and blood. White was used in Roxy's dress to represent innocence, and then the black was a foreshadowing to her later actions. Camera angles and movements. Close-ups were shown to use for isolation, emotions, and expressions. The shaky cam was used for point of views, as well as establishing shots were used to show where the place of the scene took place. Editing techniques, flashbacks in scene 1 were used to create suspense and also show the story that Roxy was talking about. Quick cuts and jump cuts were used to create suspense as well as a clean transition. Sound design, we used eerie silence to build up tension as well as eerie music to create tension in scenes. Films like Carrie, Jennifer's Body, Prom Night, and Gone Girl influenced our approach, showing how drama horror can be just as powerful as a classic horror. Slide 4. Following or challenging conventions. Our film follows some traditional horror conventions but also challenges them in key ways. Casting. We subverted the traditional final girl trope by making Roxy both the victim and potential villain. Instead of an external threat, the horror comes straight from her own mind. Locations. We follow conventions by using eerie, isolated settings such as an empty church parking lot at night to film scene 3. But we also challenge conventions by showing horror in normal locations, like a bright, decorated prom venue that actually was my living room with the TV behind it to contrast innocence with danger. Props. The bloodstained stash symbolizes blood, trauma, and revenge, as well as Roxy killing Alex. The makeup. Roxy's makeup changes with her emotional state from normal to glam to distressed and blood-filled in the acts after she kills Alex, as she is worked up from her emotions, obviously as anyone else would. Camera work, close-ups capture psychological distress. Dutch angles were used to create uneasiness. Long tracking shots were used to build suspense before sudden reveals. Editing was used for flashbacks, fast-paced and chaotic to reflect Roxy's trauma. Slow motion is used in key moments to heighten the suspense and the emotions, like when Alex received her prom crown and her reaction. Lighting, harsh shadows in intense moments, like when Roxy is killing Alex in the parking lot. Warm, nostalgic lighting and flashbacks to contrast with the present. Sound. Silence before key moments creates anticipation and suspense. Slow, eerie music builds tension leading up to the cinematic scenes, or climatic scenes is what I meant, sorry. By combining these techniques, we built a visually and emotionally intense experience for our audience. Slide 5, storyboard layout and inspiration. Our storyboard follows a nonlinear narrative which flashbacks gradually reveals Roxy's dark and interesting past. Inspired by films like Gone Girl, we structured our film to have a quiet, tension-building moments following by sudden shocking reveals. Every shot was carefully planned to visually reflect Roxy's emotional descent, using tighter framing as her anxiety grows. This approach helps the audience feel more immersed in her psychological state. Slide 6, representation of social issues and groups. In Killer Queen, we represent victims of mental health and isolation, but we also explore the dangers of unresolved trauma and revenge. Roxy represents outcasts and people struggling with their past trauma. Other characters represent common high school stereotypes, the queen bee, bystanders, the careless boyfriend, to show how different social groups attribute to exclusion and cruelty. Instead of portraying a simple good versus evil story, we challenge the audience to question who the real villain is and if Roxy's actions were right or wrong. This representation allows viewers to reflect on their own experiences, recognizing how social structures impact mental health. Slide 7, what we try to showcase and why. Our goal was to make Killer Queen more than just a drama horror. We wanted to explore psychological pain, regret, and revenge in a way that feels real and relatable. We showed how trauma doesn't just disappear and how past wounds can resurface in dangerous ways. We want to make audiences think about the consequences of exclusion and going with unchecked mental health issues. The film focuses and forces viewers to ask, would things be different if Alex didn't win prom queen? By using suspenseful storytelling and strong symbolism, we created a film that is both thrilling and thought-provoking. Slide 8, my conclusion. In conclusion, Killer Queen is a drama horror that uses suspense and storytelling and highlight real social issues. By following and challenging film conventions, we create a unique film that not only keeps audiences on edge, but also makes them think. Through creative casting, cinematography, editing, and sound design, we built a visual, intense, and emotionally powerful experience. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions, please comment them down below or send me an email. Thank you so much. Have a great day.